Lamp.
I love lamp. I love lamp.
Years later, after working for the Bush administration,
It would
Frick
be
would
found
find out
out.
that he's what they call retarded.
When it comes to safety, who has more
Um,
PHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards?
Twitch.tv/Geoffrey Sinatra. It's like we're starting with the commercial.
Oh, fantastic! Because I love commercials.
Yeah.
And when it comes
Welcome to the show.
which popular brand has
I'm gonna
the
see if I
lowest
can
ownership
mute.
lower than Toyota, Honda,
Mute?
or Hyundai? Subaru. It's easy to love a car you can trust. It's easy.
Toyota, Honda, and Subaru. That's all I heard.
Mute?
I'm in car shopping mode right now because daughter just got license 16 and taking my car everywhere. So I really want to home.
Yeah, that's frightening.
But that's a whole nother story because the swill merchants have all taken over the used car dealerships. So
Well, yeah, good luck. It's an impacted field.
it,
Used cars are not losing value because of
that's switching. That's actually switching now, finally. I mean, I thought we were catching a good time, but when I say the swill merchants, I'm talking about people who are just not honest.
oh, like the folk that Kanye doesn't like. He doesn't like a lot of people, so it could be anybody.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't really comment on that.
That's the right answer.
I can tell you that yesterday morning, got up early, ex-wife picks me up, leave the keys to my car with my daughter, drive halfway across Texas, which is an exaggeration, but the farthest ream of.
We all know that takes like 48 hours to do halfway across Texas.
Yeah, to get out of Texas is difficult. It takes 2 days from where in any direction, except for the ocean, but that doesn't really count. Yeah, to show up and find this car that really ran great, except there was a hole where the arm for the windshield wipers was supposed to be. So there was no way to activate the windshield wipers, none. And then when we pulled up after the test drive, which everything else went great, my ex could not get out of the car from the inside. I had to go around, you had to open it from the outside.
Oh God.
I'm like, yes, this is the car that I want to try to pass through whatever, which will never pass.
Right.
And put my teenage daughter and her friends in. Goodbye. So anyway, that's not the point of the show. So
you know what makes it good, the first vehicle, is when you years later go to sell it to somebody else, you realize that there's a whole Bible on how to manage that car that you've accumulated over the years.
Yeah, right.
You just don't. Well, you don't think to tell people how to do it. They're like, hey, I saw you roll down the front driver window, but now it won't roll down for us. I'm like, oh, so that one's a little glitchy. So when you go to roll it down, you want to roll the pad of your finger over the top of the button and then like kind of pull it back towards you. And then you'll feel a slight click. The contact will make it'll go down. They're like, okay, hold on a second. It's not working. I'm like, trust me. Pad of your finger.
It'll work.
12 things later, they're like, we like to just get our money back. I'm like, this was as is, people.
Yeah. A little late for that now.
Everything works. You know the secrets. Now you know how to get the car moving. You know how to get it to stop. You know how to disable the anti-theft device. P.S. There's not one.
So, ridiculous question. Are we live now?
We're live. We are live. Yes, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Friday night. This Shelf Help Show with your host, Geoffrey with the G. You know me. I'm a little glitchy today, but deal with it. I heard it's an aesthetic, and it's not totally off-putting. So I've got with me.
I told him it looks cool just so he'd quit playing with it, so we could actually do the show. I think it
My
does
bro-
look like a filter, like he's trying to make himself look glitchy.
Yeah, like I'm edgy.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's so far out into the what is that internet called that's under the internet? The black internet? What is that called?
Oh, the dark web.
Dark web. Yeah, he's so dark web.
I'm so dark web.
That's
I'm
where
so
he's
meta.
at. I'm up here just floating with you guys in like Spectrum and Coxscape
Yeah,
and shit like that. So
yeah. I'm dark web.
all right. So my
I
question,
order my Amazon stuff off the dark web, even though it's the same stuff. I just like going to that address because it feels like you're doing something sneaky.
do you want to do an intro before I hijack this show or
Yes.
okay. I'll shut up. Maybe I should talk for a little bit while he prepares. My name is Guitar Monk Matthew Dixon. I have been off the grid for a while because I've been in a moving transition, moving my studio. If you could see behind me, which luckily you cannot, there are tons of boxes that I am still unloading. But yesterday, I finally built my new desk. I have my screens up. My computer is no longer in my kitchen. So tonight I decided to hit up
Hannah.
Mr. Sinatra and say, hey, do you want to do an improv show just off the cuff? And because that's kind of how we'd like to do it. So that everything stays fresh, everything stays real. So that's what we're doing right now. If you're watching,
That's it.
if you're not, then you don't get to see it. Oh, I think he's got
That's it. Welcome to the show.
that's the intro.
That's it. That's it. I've got nothing for this new and improved version. I've got stuff for some rebranding. Which
I'm just, you know me, I'm honest with you all the time. That's pretty disappointing. I was waiting for, jets and speedboats and jet skis, and I have no idea.
and random sound effects and explosions and
Yeah,
people
like there was no fireballs or anything.
Oh,
Okay, all right. Well,
yeah,
let's
that was, I think that's the old me. I think
oh,
is
this
that,
is the new you,
it must be
like just like weird ass fucking jazz with a globe spinning.
yeah, yeah. So like the
I could
stuff
do
I've been
better without
crafting,
halfway even trying. I
yeah,
could
the stuff
actually blindfold myself and make something better than that.
that was actually used for the old show.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. But it wasn't her intro. That definitely wasn't an intro. Intros usually have a bit more oomph, a bit more pow.
Yeah, a little pow, a little pow.
Uh,
Remember Batman and Robin?
Batman and Robin, yeah.
Kind of like that. All right, next time.
Next.
We're gonna give you that as a mulligan. Next time, you're gonna bring us something a little better, a little something with some pow.
No pressure.
All right.
So what's on your mind, my friend? So Shelf Help Show, guys, here's what we do. Sometimes we just get together and we share thoughts. Sometimes there's just a lot going on in the world that's, well, sometimes just sit down and try and get put together some sort of sense of why and what, and do we still have a community, and what is all this for? And sometimes it's because we decided to get drunk, and all those things come out 10 times. When I started Shelf Help Show, the idea was that if need be, we can pull resources off a shelf. There are 260,000 psychological and or self-help type books out there. There's no need for you to read them all. There is, however, a need oftentimes to have a community of friends who are like-minded, who will have insight and resources for you, so you don't feel alone at the end of the day. So that's the point of the show. It'll continue to be the point of the show. No matter what tangent we might go down, it's about helping out your fellow man, fellow woman, and keeping the community strong. So
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things about this show, and not just this show, but in general, is that finding people who are willing to be honest about what they're going through, so that you know you're not the only one going through it. Or maybe you haven't gone through it, but if you do, you remember, oh yeah, remember that guy? That guy said this. He went through it. I'll be okay. Everybody be okay. That's the key. So my launching pad for tonight is probably pretty basic. It's going to sound basic to some of you. Some of you will, it'll be foreign, and some of you might be in it. That's how this thing works. I had to deal with, because to make a long story quick, I have completely relocated. I have downsized my house to half. And in doing so, I needed to get rid of a lot of things. So I literally got a humongous dumpster. And I say humongous, this was like industrial size. And eventually took the screen off my top window and just threw things out the window into the dumpster after certain things.
I picture a movie scene. People just like, just get this shit out.
That's all I did. And it was, that
and the end of Young Guns, the first one. You expect Billy the Kid to come out pistols blaring at the end.
It was actually difficult for me to do, because a lot of, I will be honest, I threw away a lot of things that had a lot of value and could probably help other people. I was under a time constraint.
Yeah. I
didn't have time to drive over and give it to the thrift shop like I wanted to.
Right.
Would have been wonderful if I could. Instead, I was chucking things out the window. And when I couldn't chuck them out the window, I was downstairs tossing them up over the top. And the company, after the initial buy-in for the rental of the unit, said, once you go over a ton, we charge you an initial $90, anything over a ton. I thought, I'm never gonna hit a ton.
There's no way I got a ton of shit in this house.
I did. And even when my friend Bubba was over, I go, do you think there's a ton in there? And he goes, you're not even close. And maybe at that point I wasn't. But by the end of it, because all you couldn't do is you couldn't overfill the end. I went over a ton, which no problem paying for it or whatever. That's not the issue. But it made me realize you just threw away a ton, or actually literally over a ton of things in your life.
Right. And
I'm not a guy who gives up things easily. I'm kind of I'm not a hoarder, but I'm kind of a packer. You know, I look at things and go,
there's nostalgia.
You know what? Well, one day I might need this. You know, and I get caught up in that. And so I've adapted that release. I'm even here in my new place, I'm still throwing things away because I look at it and I go, you haven't used this in 4 years.
Right.
Is it any less valuable? No, it's not. It's just as valuable as it was, but you don't use it. I think consumerism in general is a difficult factor. We start to think, I bought this, I own it, and now I need to keep it.
Right.
But as I'm trying to dive myself into a world of less, smaller space, smaller stuff, like what's really important. You don't throw your bed out. You need your bed. You don't
Right.
throw your refrigerator out. You need your refrigerator. But do you need the wine rack? I'm just using that as a off the cuff. I don't even have a wine rack.
Right.
I actually gave my wine rack away to my friend's wife. And she was like, "Oh, nice wine rack." I'm like, "Take it. It's yours."
Yeah. She was like, "Ooh, I'm a girl," and you're like, "Yeah, that makes more sense."
Yeah, it's not. I don't need a wine rack. I don't have wine. It's a dumb thing for me to have. But for you, you like wine, put your wine bottles in there. That's
Isn't
great.
that interesting that you'd have a wine rack? Was it set in a place where it could be functional if need be, like a countertop or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, in all honesty, I bought the wine rack for my ex.
Okay.
And she does enjoy wine. And so, but it was one of the things she didn't take with her. And whatever she
So,
didn't take with her at this point in time,
but I guess my point is, in your head, it could be useful
oh yeah,
if the situation, someone you have some people over. Hey, we brought some wine. Perfect. Look at that wine rack. We'd like to drink it. Oh, great. Now the wine rack's empty.
yeah.
But
Except
not being a connoisseur or a regular user of wine, then it's kind of pointless.
except now I live in a place that is tighter. So why would I ever have that to begin with? Like if
Right.
you want wine, bring a bottle of wine, crack it open, pour a glass of wine,
Right.
have
Well, there's boxes fit in the fridge very nicely.
absolutely
I'm having a hard time understanding what this
Tour de France.
other. I'm like, yeah, give me the jug of wine. Like, we'll be wasting time.
But I think the point is for the point I'm trying to get to is not necessarily what I did and what I went through. It's the idea that we don't need to hold on to all these objects so tightly.
But we do.
But yeah, because, and especially, and for those of you who make really good money, let's say you're in the 6-figure bracket and you're doing fantastic. Good for you.
You're rich, biatch.
Think, yeah. Think about the way you're spending the money. Do you really need to go buy something that consumes more space, like a wine rack?
Mhm.
Now, if you're into wine, go buy a wine rack. Absolutely, if that's your hobby.
Right.
But if it's not, then the letting go portion, like earlier today, I looked at the cookie sheet that I have. I have one. I looked at it. It was pretty beat, old. I was starting to clean it, and I thought, you know what? No, I'm just gonna throw this thing away. And then on the way home, my daughter's like, as I told her, I said, "Hey, next time we're at a place that sells a cookie sheet, remind me we need a cookie sheet." Because I thought, why not just go buy another one? What are they? $6? But yet I'm going to sit here and scrub on this old dirty cookie tray that's been around for 20 years, you know? Why am I doing this?
Because
Why?
it works.
It's
'Cause it
because,
works, right?
well, it's because, you know, you and I came from what I would call lower middle class.
Right.
You know, you can call it middle class or whatever you want to call it, but you know, it's like you learn to appreciate what you have. And there's nothing wrong with just letting it go. I let it go. On the way home, she stopped off, went to the store, and got a new cookie sheet for $6. Now we got a brand new one. Looks fantastic. I just threw it in the dishwasher. It'll be clean. All I need now is cookies. And so I don't know why for me this is such a phenomenal like breakthrough. And maybe it's not for the listener. I don't know. And maybe others have gone through it, or maybe I don't know. I'm just trying to say like where I'm coming from and still being able to kind of maintain, kind of look at it and just kind of let go of things. It's okay to let go of things. Would you agree?
So pack riding and hoarding are behaviors that involve collecting and holding onto a large number of objects, often to the point where it becomes a problem. People may engage in these behaviors for a variety of reasons, including feelings of attachment to the objects, a belief that the objects have sentimental or personal value, a sense of self-control or order, or a fear of losing something important. Some people may also engage in hoarding as a way of coping with stress or difficult emotions, or as a way of trying to find a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. It's important to note that hoarding can be a serious problem, as it can interfere with daily functioning and have negative impacts on physical and mental health. If you or someone you know is struggling with hoarding, it's important to seek help from a mental health professional. So that's like an extreme, the extreme definition of what you're talking about. You're not hoarding to the point where, you're carrying multiples of every object and, just random things you'll never need. It's more like things you think maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I should throw this away, or maybe it has a couple more uses out of it. But it's definitely the opposite of being a minimalist.
Yeah, and I can tell you that I know you just read something up,
Yeah.
like a script of whatever that is, which is great. My mom always gave physical objects personalities.
Okay.
Like my car. When my car didn't, I sold my car to a bass player friend of mine. He drove it to San Francisco. It broke down. And he just walked away from it. And unfortunately, we didn't paperwork right. So it came back to me. And then it was like, no, it's on him. And everything worked out fine. But she was like, that car didn't deserve to be treated like that. It treated us so well. That car took us on vacations. That car did this. That car did that. And I just felt like crap. I was like, oh.
Oh, so anthropomorphizing objects. It's like when you give an animal human characteristics. Like, oh, look, he's that otter. He's very coy and playful. He really likes you. You can tell he's saying this and that. And what do you do when you're non-living, so to speak? Your non-sentient objects take on those sort of characteristics.
Well, and I have issue with this because this runs the fine line of when we're working with Ho'oponopono, Dr. Hulan he was the first one to state, before he walks into a room, he talks to the room. He talks to the chair before he sits in,
Mhm.
but not in the same respect, not in a guilt way. I almost think that where my mom comes from, and God, I hope she doesn't watch this because I'm talking about her, but I I almost think it's more the Catholic guilt concept
Mm.
versus where, like Dr. Hulan, it's more of the aquacore connection, which is physical objects are, we already know science has proven that it's all energy and we are all energy. So everything is all energy at once, but it's just buzzing so fucking fast that
Right.
this is what we get. This is what we see on this plane. And
You think the Catholic guilt is like God provided, so everything that God provides has value, forever. So you shouldn't take it for granted. Is it like that?
I have
Or is it more like you take care of the poor and you take care of the weak, and you had this when you needed it and you gave it up, and you could have maybe paid it forward. Maybe you could have done something for somebody else with it. Ooh. And I'm just asking rhetorical. I don't know that I'm let's just having dialogue about it. I wonder, it sounds like it could be maybe a mixture. I'm not pushing it on your mom. I'm just pushing it on Catholic guilt in general. My in-laws are all Catholic. My ex was raised Catholic, so I understand.
I'm my girlfriend is ex-Catholic, although still very Catholic. Only ex because she broke
It's
up.
like it's the mafia. It's like the mafia. You never really get out.
Well, she got divorced, so you're not,
Yeah.
but it didn't change anything with
We
her.
just had a big funeral for a big Nazi pope, so
you
we're
know,
pretty,
it's all I think
pretty forgiving.
all that I think is
Hmm.
to me it's all the same in the
The attaching to objects part would be hard for me. From you, if I was wired a little more like you in that regards, because I understand your connection to the universe is all connected, and I'm saying yours is stronger than mine. I think yours is um your connection to all the energy around you is constant, where I have to dip in and dip out so as to not be overwhelmed by it. So I can see where something like that, like coming from your
well
mother.
I
So
can
like,
tell you, I can tell you this, and I've spoke about it before, not on your show, but when I was reading Zero Limits, which for me to read a book is a lot, and
yeah,
'cause I'm an audio guy, I don't read well and dyslexia. That's my excuse, so I go with that every chance I can. But I got to a point where I was like, oh man, I still remember the day. I know exactly where I was. I know exactly where my ex was. We were out on the porch, sitting there. I'm reading my book. Music's on in the background. She's sitting there. I'm reading and I'm thinking to myself, oh, finally getting this. Because it was a foreign concept, but a familiar concept at the same time. Because I'd already studied Rastafari, I'd already been raised metaphysical, so it wasn't that far fetched, but it was a different approach. And then I hit the point where he talked about talking to his chair, and I slammed the book and said, give me a fucking break. Because I was just like, you got to be kidding me with it. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is what you want to talk about right now.
That was your break point. That's funny.
You just drew me in, man. I just got here, and now you're talking to the furniture.
That's funny. That was actually that was actually a point that probably attached me more to it. That's funny because you told me to watch out for it,
Yeah.
And when we got there, I was like, yeah, right on, dude. That is a great perspective. That's what I thought. That is a great perspective. These guys are coming in being like, this is a tough room. Well, have you talked to the room about it? And I'm like, yeah, go get them, doctor. They're like, what do you mean? Talk to the room about it. Maybe the room's suffering. You thought about that? And I was like, yeah, go get him. Talk to the room.
Take you farther. You know what he told me?
But,
What about the soil below the room?
yeah. Keeps going, man.
The earth below it. Just
Right.
on and on. I'm like,
You know,
all right, chill out, man. I'm just gonna go play guitar in the corner for a while and earn my keep.
right. Let me see if I can process this.
Yeah, too much.
You had me in at hello, and then all of a sudden you're asking me to what?
Yeah.
It's a horrible idea.
So
That's funny. That was the moment it touched me when I was like, obviously, because I'm I'm in for the guy who's thinking, big picture, not for the short-sighted people who, I'm just like, that to me is a perfect next logical answer. If you're going to believe that the mantra works, if you're going to believe that the tools work, and if you're going to believe that taking something which was a communal healing process, making it personal, and then combining it with prayer and mindfulness and other aspects could be life changing, then it can be life changing. It can absolutely be. This is really interesting.
so
So
let
I
me
hadn't brought this up. I'll hold my thought. No, I don't want to derail, but I want to give a little credit.
let me push your buttons a little bit farther. All right. Because this is what I deal with on a daily basis. And no, I'm not gonna tell that story. That's Dr. White's story. But so now imagine that professionally, let's just say you professionally, no names, nothing else to be said. You don't have to explain it. Let's imagine that somebody professionally has crossed you, like in a bad way, that would make you upset. With this same exact understanding, you have to know that it is not the individual who is crossing. That is simply the data.
That is what?
It's the data.
Mm.
Perfect.
Yep.
The person is perfect. So even in my world, like professionally, people that I know that have done me wrong, I have to look at it and go, you know what? They really have. They are perfect. That is my data that I am experiencing because I'm
Right.
bringing that to myself.
Correct.
So if somebody, steals money from me or doesn't pay me for a job or whatever you want, make a scenario.
Right.
I'm not going to give specifics because that would be too incriminating. But let's say they did.
I'll pay you back. Jeez, it's only 10 cents.
Damn it, Jeff! I told
Gosh,
you. I want my $2.
my $2. I tried boiled bacon today, boys.
Best Christmas movie ever, next to Die Hard. Drop dead, folks. We'll quote. But
So
that's what you run into is all of a sudden you start to look at every single time you're met with conflict that really pisses you off.
yeah,
I mean, because we're allowed to have emotion. We're human beings. If I told you I didn't get pissed off, I would be lying. I get pissed off a lot. But then I have to retract and I have to think, okay, well, what are you pissed off on? And now maybe I will tell Dr. Len's story, which was he would go on these walks. And he said, I'm on a walk the other day, guy comes around the corner, almost runs me off the road. And what does Dr. Len do? Mr. Spiritual Guy, he yells out, "You asshole!" And he said, and as soon as I did it, I thought, oh, that's me. And you have to pull back. You got to retract. But the initial reaction is, yeah, guy's an asshole. Except who is the guy? The guy is you. That is a tough
that's
pill
where
to swallow.
being 100% responsible for yourself.
There you go. Look at
And-
you, man. You've been
and-
studying, huh?
It is everything you witness is your responsibility
That's right.
because you witnessed it. It exists. If you didn't, it wouldn't.
Your reality is only your reality, even as we speak right now, which is my reality, which is what they call the octacore, because it's connected only to one thing, and that's the source. That's a very quick rendition.
It took me a long time to change my mindset out of being purely reactionary. I found it was easier to be reactionary and to blame others. Of course. Well, of course. And if we can hide behind our what's it called? Our sense of self-righteousness, then we can insulate ourselves from the responsibility and guilt that we actually have towards making our lives either good, better, best, or shit.
That's right.
And when I was 18 years old, when I told my father that Jennifer, my ex-girlfriend, was pregnant with my child,
I hate to do this. I need to use the restroom.
Cool.
I'm an old man with a small bladder.
go. We'll pin that thought. Pregnant, dad, my father's wisdom.
Yes. And I don't know, play something or
Yeah. I bet I have a parody commercial or something we can watch for a second.
keep it appropriate, please.
Appropriate to what? Oh, it shouldn't be like a fake abuse. No, that makes sense. Spatula City. We sell spatulas. And that's all. Spatula City. Brief little excerpt from Jordan Peterson and Dr. Oz.
We're back with clinical psychologist Dr. Jordan Peterson, and Stacy and Tracy are also with us. They say their marriage is in trouble. And today we're asking the question, are you sabotaging your relationship without even knowing it?
That doesn't happen. Are you sabotaging your relationship without even knowing it? Let's find out.
Stacy, I was caught off guard when you said that you'd actually already printed out the divorce papers. Why haven't you signed them?
because there's always that hope. There's always the glimmer of hope that we can change.
All right, let's see who's changed. All right, you got those earplugs, ear holes, midlife crisis, 30s. Her teeth are all hers at this point. Her complexion does not indicate loss of collagen due to excessive drinking.
My
Look at
heart's
that.
still in it. I just don't know how to put the pieces back together to make it right.
Okay, here you go. Looking cute. She's kind of tall. I don't trust tall chicks.
Dr. Peterson, this is a challenge that I think we're seeing all over the country. You're an expert in this area, so I hand the ball to you.
Well, there's lots of things.
He's my favorite, Kermit the Frog. There's lots of things. Are you guys willing to put in the work? He gives the best advice. Are you willing to put in the work? What do you want from each other? He asks questions like Socrates, and I fear that someday he'll be forced to drink hemlock. Like Andrew Tate currently is being forced to drink hemlock because of his exposure. You guys realize that Andrew Tate was just a young version of Jordan Peterson, right? He was just the crass version of Jordan. Same message in general, which is men, be men, for God's sake. Take some ownership.
That are positive about your relationship, that are obvious right away. I mean, the first is that you have the grounds of real friendship. The second is you both actually appear to want this to work. I think a lot of your problem is actually practical, to tell you the truth. And I would say it's also not so much a matter of global change. It's like I see things that aren't working in your marriage that will sink a marriage. So, for example, people need to talk to each other for about 90 minutes a week, just about what they're doing in their lives and their problems. You need that. And
Facts. 90 minutes.
I just had a great idea.
What was that?
It's either a great idea or a horrible idea. It's one of
Horrible idea. Either way.
It's hard to tell. We should do a show where you and I give marriage coupling advice, because neither one of us have been successful, so we are perfect to give all the advice in the world.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
I think that'd be great.
I have no idea what you're showing. I just walked in on the middle of it and I'm like, I don't know how this is relevant, but whatever.
Oh, can you see it?
you need to have a date, like at least once a
Sabotaging
week
your
and
marriage without knowing it.
probably twice a week. It's absolutely crucial. And then it's also the same with reestablishing a romantic bond. It's like you're not romantically entangled right now because you're alienated from one another, and you might not want to get close physically. But this isn't a matter of wanting to begin with. It's a matter of having to in order to rekindle what's going on in your relationship.
Wait, what?
That's bull. He's speaking to her and not him. If I were her, I would have a problem with this.
Why?
Because number
And
one,
he's not just talking to her.
I
He's not.
don't know. I just came in on the middle of it, but
Yeah.
I would want to counterbalance there. Why is she the only female amongst three men? Her husband and obviously these two guys. Who I
He's
don't
just
know.
he's giving the couple advice.
Okay.
So he's not singling her out to be responsible for this part of the marriage.
I understand that, but where is the feminine perspective?
Hers. Well, listen, this is a brief, like Dr. Oz is like, hey, this couple, whatever, they're having some issues. Here are the issues. What advice would you give them? And he's like, here's my canned advice. These are the things. These are the general things that people have
I
an
didn't
issue
know
with.
that. Like I said, I came in I was in the restroom. So
Yeah, it's not much more detailed than what you're getting here.
Okay.
It's just he dispenses with let's go with a high level obvious. Like what things do marriages tend to need in order to work, and then what, if present, need to be worked on or go away in order to not jack it up.
Yeah, the problem I have,
And he puts the responsibility back on both people. He's like,
the biggest problem I have is, look at his tie.
his wife picked it. No, that's because of his first book. His 12 Rules for
I
Life.
I don't know who he is. Okay.
Dr. Jordan Peterson.
So his
He's-
first book is based on lobsters?
No, it's clinical psychology. It's on life. His book is 12 Rules for Life. The very first chapter, rule number 1 is stand up straight with your shoulders back. And he talks about the evolution of serotonin and how it works on lobsters, where if their posture, he goes, basically anytime a lobster wins a little skirmish against another lobster for female lobster territory, every time they win, their serotonin level increases and their posture gets bigger, and their head up, shoulders back, and they're the lobster in charge.
Oh, wow.
The chances of that lobster losing is like, it's very minuscule once you're full of that serotonin.
Yeah.
The
dominance factor.
Exactly. So that guy, the lobster king, basically gets to sit back and he gets all the lobsters. Now, if he loses a fight and he's the dominant lobster, they literally can just watch him shrink, physically shrink. And the chances of him winning another fight after losing is like 1 out of like 10,000. It literally diminishes to nothing, because what he posits is, if our central nervous system and our sense of awareness and our sense of placement in the hierarchy, our sense of placement in the groups around us comes from the serotonin chemical, lets us know where we stand. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? If you take lobsters and you dump serotonin into the water in a controlled environment, they will all puff up and they will all get bigger and they will all get confident.
It's like the kid in Little League who finally hits a home run. And
That's right. And then everybody says, we knew it.
okay, I jumped in not knowing what I was hearing. So
Well, no, I'm glad you asked.
digress. No, you've explained it very well, and I do agree. I was just jumping onto I was reactionary to one thing.
So this is his rule. His first rule is, stand up straight with your shoulders back and act as if you have a placement in this world. You need to start there. Because
I've only been able to do that for the last 2 years, and you know how big I am.
yeah, 7'2".
Bubba, he still can't do it. And he's 1 inch shorter. He's a big guy, but he's 2 inches shorter because of the way he stands most of the time.
Yeah. I saw you guys goofing off in the kitchen on Facebook, and he looks,
We goof off. Yeah, I was.
but it makes him look positively small.
Yeah, and he's not that small. He just kind of cowers down, and
Right.
I agree. I mean, when I walk in, I put shoulders back, stand up straight. I used to not want to do it because I felt it was.
Jordan will tell you, like, you walk into a room, or like, he lectures auditoriums, he travels the world and lectures, and he's like, he does it himself. He'll walk in and shoulders back and deep breath, and he's like, if you can get your arms out there. Oh.
I don't know if this is true or not, because so many things have been proved untrue since the birth of the internet, but I did go to the prestigious school of Rio Seco, which I believe attended. Were you not an attendee of Rio Seco?
Rio Seco, as I remember, meant Sucky River.
Yeah. Yes, it was quite an elegant.
Yeah.
K through 8.
Well, yeah, that was yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I went there also.
I remember in government history, which is probably not even the name of the class, but we all recognize that George Washington was the first president. And I don't remember which grade or what class or what teacher, or maybe it was a substitute, because sometimes they have the best information because they're not held accountable, said George Washington became president because he was the tallest man in the room, and he just walked into the room and went, "I'll be the president."
Mhm.
Nothing to do with an apple tree and all that crap. And that stuff probably never even happened. You just
Oh yeah, I cannot tell a lie.
folklore to go along with it.
Yeah.
I cannot tell a lie. Yes, I did chop down that apple tree. It's like, okay, that shit may have flown a long time ago, but right now I really don't care.
Right.
But it's
All myth.
it's the power of a room.
As for him being getting the election or getting nominated for president after he was not the first president of the Constitutional Convention. There were two others before him, but for him to get nominated was based on his military skills. It was based on him being respected, and
Yeah.
based on him being a natural leader.
It was
Yeah,
not just size in the room, but most qualified. It's
right.
like, who wants to be president? Nah, not me. Not me. George is like, I'll do it.
Right.
You guys fix my wooden teeth if I do it.
He's like, what's the alternative? He's like,
Yeah.
I'm already the commander of the army.
Somebody's got to do it anyway.
What do you want? What do you want? But he was also the one who was against inappropriate titles.
Oh,
Everybody wanted titles. They're like, we need titles. He goes, no, we don't. We don't need titles. We have jobs that we're elected to do for a brief period of time, and we serve our people and we get out. And they're like, well, how about your regency? And you're like, how about no? How about I'm the president? They're like, how about your honorable? Like they wanted to give something, a title, to differentiate between the rest of the world, since they were all title based. Like, how do you compete against king and queen and regent and emperor and all this stuff? He's like,
that may not be a bad idea.
he's like, we compete against them by actually being a constitutional republic.
As long as you don't take the title too seriously.
We're here to do the job. So I think he might have agreed during his second term that Mr. President was acceptable.
Well, that is how I became the guitar monk.
That is how what?
Became the guitar monk. Very similar concept.
Hmm.
Delve into
So
this. It's pretty quick. It's easy.
You were at the Constitutional Congress?
No. My two main colleagues I was working with both had doctorates.
Mhm.
Dr. Joe Vitale and Dr. Steve Jones.
Hmm.
Jones also was a certified hypnotist and is a very good one. And I thought, great, my name is going to appear amongst these guys just as Mathew Dixon.
Right.
So I looked into becoming a certified hypnotist, which I could have done in a weekend. But in the back of my mind, I knew it would be bull crap. It'd be one of those programs you just did.
Right.
Practice, I mean, I'm NLP certified, but I don't promote it. That was just for personal stuff. So then I thought, I need a title. I need something in front of my name that sounds different than just my name.
Right.
And I went back and I looked into my whole entire history, between my favorite Chili Peppers song, a statement that one of my best friends made when I was younger, my dog, my favorite jazz musician. It all kept coming up monk. And I went, guitar monk, Mathew Dixon. There is no such thing as a guitar monk, except for what I've created it to be. But it,
Right.
gave me a title. A
And-
title in a place so that when I came up against the doctors,
Mhm.
I would have something to be said. And there was a guy that I met a couple of times, real nice guy, I wish I could remember his name. He works for the head of marketing for John Deere. And he was the first one that came to me and goes, "Oh, you're the guitar monk." I said, "Yes." He goes, "That is the most brilliant thing ever." He goes, "You got it. You nailed it. You did it." He got the whole spectrum. He understood it. He understood that being a guitar monk was nothing more than just being me.
Right.
And putting a title on it.
Yeah.
So for all you at home who are disappointed,
It encapsulates though. It encapsulates who you are, what you do,
yeah,
how you do it, and why.
yeah,
What it is, what it is.
it's my spiritual quest through life, including a guitar, because that's
Right.
how it's going to be for me. I already
That's
know.
right. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Well, to I guess digress. We'll get away from Jordan Peterson, who I believe you need much of him in your life, Mathew. Much of him in your life. Yeah, he will fortify the things that need strengthening, and he will challenge some of the things that you may believe to be, concrete and true. But he's not a polarizing person. He's a very, very, very smart guy. And
Well, offline, why don't you, if you could send me a link, because
Yeah. you got it.
But
He's
right
he's
before I
he's
was
great.
go to use the restroom, you were going into a dad story.
Dad story, yeah. Chaos.
Yeah.
So, I believe I said I was 18 years old. I had to tell my father that my girlfriend was pregnant, and my ex-girlfriend, which was even better. So we didn't have any plans on being together, up till even that pivotal point. Hi, sweetheart. So I tell him, and there's this kind of like, there's a gravity to it. There's a lot of gravity to, hey, I'm creating the first child in our family, and I'm not married to the gal. I don't plan on marrying her. I'm not sure how things are going to go. Surprise. Jennifer and I made decisions together. A lot of decisions were made without me. And we'll just say that for the first few years, I didn't have much involvement in Kelsey's life. Actually, for the first 15 years, I hardly had any, except for paying child support and benefits. And I remember I was about a year into after she was born. I had seen her, I held her, hugged her, kissed her, and melted my heart. I'll tell you that. And I remember I was going through all this existential crisis because I'm like, I kept looking for someone to tell me the right thing to do. Like, tell me tell me what to do. Please, somebody tell me what to do. And I remember my dad didn't tell me what to do. He would just, I would present where I was and what my options were, and he would say, "Huh, so you can go this way, you can go that way." Yeah, I might take either one. What are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I remember I was upset all the time because if I knew I was failing somebody no matter what. I was failing my parents because they didn't get to meet their grandkid. Just based on how our relationship was. I'm failing my immediate family because they're not getting to meet their their niece. I'm failing my daughter because I'm not there every day for her. I'm failing, and everything felt like a failure, no matter what decision I made based on whatever logic was presented. I remember I just felt like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. Why doesn't somebody just fucking tell me? Isn't that what being an adult is all about? You fuckers, don't you have experience so you can tell me? And I remember being all just bent out of shape one day, and my dad was mad at me. He's like, "You hurt your mother." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? Like, why is it every time something pauses or there's a moment of I can breathe for a second, you've got to bring something up that I fucking did wrong?" He's like, "You broke your mother's heart having this baby without her being able to know her." And I'm like, I broke her heart. I didn't directly do a damn thing, Dad. I didn't set about to break anybody's heart. I'm like, every step along the way, I've asked you for advice. And all the directions I've gone and I've made those decisions with your encouragement, including not having daily access to my child and allowing her mom to marry somebody else. Like all the things, Dad, you were involved in that. Like, yeah, well, yeah. This is why is it that when things come to the center and I'm thinking like I can breathe for a moment, that you have to turn around and remind me what the fuck up I am. I'm like,
That's where the true lesson is.
and he said, "Son, you don't get to have it all. It's not how life works."
There it is. That's the true lesson, see?
I said, "What?" And he said, "Listen, when you stop making decisions in your life, when you stop doing things in your life that cause all of this turmoil, all this drama, all this bullshit, things will become so much easier, so much simpler. But you cause it. You bring it to life and you cause it to happen. And I think you think you're smart enough. And I think you think you're smarter than everybody else. And that somehow you could ride the lightning and you're going to survive it, but you're not." He was the reason I tell you that you broke your mother's heart when you have a moment of feeling okay about this is because you did. Your decisions matter. Her heartbreak doesn't exist without you doing that. And I was like, why am I responsible for her heartbreak?
There is consequence beyond.
Yeah. And I was like, oh. He goes, "I love you. You're an emotional fruitcake, just like your mother."
I would expect nothing less from your dad.
He's like, "But stop. Just stop doing it. You stop. Things come at you and you think you think you can control it. You think you can control the world and you cannot do it. Stand still and stop reaching out and trying to solve everything. Stop. It's up to you."
Keep your penis in your pants.
Right. And I was like,
Or wrap that rascal.
and it was such a moment. I was like, oh, that's the lesson.
That's right.
Now, now I'm like 19, 20 years old. And I'm like, oh, it's all my fault.
Click.
It's oh shit. Like if he had just hit me with that on day one when I'm in a panic, it's all your fault, it's all your fault, it's all your fault, I would have run off probably.
No,
And
you waited till you jumped up enough to come back and say,
but yeah, it was
it's time for you to look at
it's like his timing was spot on. He's like, okay, here's the lesson, dipshit. And I'm like, oh,
I hate to do this. I lied. I love to do that. Take that moment. Take everything we were talking about with Ho'oponopono, talking about hearing from somebody else. The perfect is the person is perfect and the information is you. So this is hard for me to say to you because I know your dad is passed and I haven't experienced that yet. But what you were hearing was just a part of you when you needed to hear it. So he delivered it perfectly. But in a sense, so did you, because you were in the acceptance point. So you made that connection, like click, locked together. And it probably changed your, maybe not immediately. You probably still went out and did stupid shit. I'm sure you did. But you're recognizing that point, and that's exactly how it works. And it becomes really complicated. I mean, it becomes.
Oh, I
when
know.
they say, when they hold it out, they say, "Do you want the red pill or the blue pill?"
Right.
It's not that far off. It really isn't. I mean, the pills are metaphorical.
How do you want to view things? The reality is going to be whatever reality you
Yeah.
choose to see.
I mean, I have had my moments where I'm like, I kind of wish I just stayed stupid. It would have been really nice just to be an idiot and go, I don't know, be a salesman that's called marketing, something that I was good at. Went along with the rest of the people I knew who were doing that anyway and living their lives, and they got big houses and fancy cars and lots of kids, pool parties, vacations and all that stuff, and I don't have any of that. Instead, I
Right.
took the other pill, and now I have reality. And sometimes it's a little tough to swallow. I'll admit it. It's not always pleasant, especially when you're looking at a scenario like what you're looking at right now, where you're reflecting on a moment with your dad, and you're reflecting on this thing that he said and how perfectly timed it was. You start to think about it a little bit more, and you kind of go, 100% reality. That was me. Okay, that was what I needed to hear in that moment in order to get myself on this path of where I'm at now.
Mhm.
What you can do is look at how good you have it right now.
So that moment, that was a centering moment.
It's
It
called
was
defining.
it was so clear. And it was so specific. And I remember this is my reaction. My reaction was like, "Oh, he's all once." So once I take, it's all my fuck. Okay, like I didn't thrash around for very long because there was nothing to thrash against.
You didn't
Your
get it.
your instinct to be like, "Oh, really? Well, you guys are all a bunch. You're the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. My
You
ass."
told me this, but what I saw, you did something. I know that.
Right. So my ability to argue was gone. I was like, oh,
It takes two,
oh,
right?
okay, here we go. And I was kind of like, oh, and then it did change behaviors, and it did change the way I was navigating. Because I was still navigating life like a cowboy. I was 20 years old, 19, 20 years old, and I'm like, look at me,
Oh,
like
so you living across the street from me?
I was like, I was just shooting my guns. I didn't give a crap. But yeah. So
You were that 1920.
getting introduced to Ho'oponopono I said, yeah. It was just like, very matter of fact. Like, oh, yeah, I get it. Absolutely. I'm like, ooh, accountability. Ooh, people don't like that. People don't like it. Hey, when you stop fucking things up, guess what? Things will get better. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. No, you're the perpetrator.
Dr. Hulain used to have a phrase. Do you ever? Okay. This is such a.
Alexa,
Sounds like a random phrase.
turn all lights blue.
What's that? Oh no. Listen to this. So Dr. Hulain, he loved to say this, and it makes once you really grab your head around the whole entire concept, it really makes sense. Do you ever notice when there's a problem, you're there?
Mhm.
It's that simple. That's truly it. Do you ever notice?
Yeah.
There's a problem. You're there.
John Cusack, say anything.
Oh, that's right.
He's out in front of the Puff and Stuff or whatever, the Quickie Mart, and his friends are giving him advice on girls. And he's like, why would I be taking relationship advice from a bunch of single dudes who are hanging out in front of the Quickie Mart at, on Friday night at 10 p.m.
Your eyes tonight. Holding up the.
You're like, well, this is by choice, man. This is by choice. Like, they're like, we're here, it's by choice. We choose to not be where you are.
That's right.
That's why you should listen to us.
Used to be.
And my dad would quote that. He quoted that since, he said, as far as I know, he saw the movie one time, like most rational people in the 80s. And he would quote that randomly throughout my life, and it would make me laugh. He'd be like, why would I be taking advice from a bunch of dorks who don't have girlfriends hanging out in front of the Quick Stop at 10 o'clock on a Friday night? Well, this is by choice, man. It's like, okay, you're elevated. You just might be. He goes, you just might be. You never know. My dad also liked to say about the Masons versus like the Bloods or the Crips. He's like, you got to differentiate between a fraternity and a gang. You gotta. It's all about how you look at yourself. Like, we're not a gang, man. We're a club. He's like,
that's like bikers, MCs.
right.
Where you cut, get your badge, you move up, you do your thing.
Yeah.
You a biker gang or
My dad was a 1%er.
for real?
For real.
Know that.
Yeah. The things I learned when I got older.
Never knew him to have a bike.
Before he joined, he rode a BMW, a Norton. Actually, I have a little Norton tin on my wall over there. But Beamer and Norton were his favorite. The Norton, I think, is British. Beamer is German. So when he was, the Norton was accepted into the standard motorcycle clubs. So you didn't have to have it wasn't a full Harley, you didn't have to have 100% Harley. He rode in the mid 60s before he joined.
My dad was,
joined the Air Force.
I guess to glorify it, you would say he was a
He did what? Singing?
lone wolf.
Cold War?
Lone wolf.
Oh, Lone Wolf. Oh.
Yeah, because he didn't, he never rode with a biker gang. But he'd go out and get that. Doesn't sound big now, but at the time, a 900 Kawasaki and just scare the shit out of me going up Palomar Mountain.
That's what I have.
Just dragging. Well, it was what they based the Ninja on. He
Yeah.
had that, and then when I
I've
was
got the Kawasaki 900 Vulcan.
and before I was born, he was a Triumph guy. And he
Triumphs are-
had long hair, and he was a hippie. I still don't understand who my dad was when I was younger, because I've got a picture, and he rode the largest Triumph they made. That was it. But no biker gangs, nothing like that. Just smoking weed and fucking riding. That was it.
Yep. Yep.
I've tried to ask him a couple times, but he's just so, my dad's quiet.
Very low key.
And yeah, try.
It's funny because my dad, it's maybe intimidating based on size when we were kids, and his I always say his stoic nature. You couldn't read him. Like I could read him. I could tell when he was fucking with my friends. My friends couldn't tell when they were being fucked with though. They didn't understand his sense of humor, or the fact that if you just look over here in the very corner of his mouth, he's got a little smile right there, a little crooked. He's grinning.
Hey, I will be the one to say I could never read your dad. He scared the crap out of me.
It's funny. He was like 90% sarcastic. Just
That
this
one,
just
that
funny.
one birthday, and I know we've already talked way lost in the archives, but
Is it when you broke his measuring tape?
oh no, that was a different story. No, it was your birthday.
Yeah.
We're there at the table. I'm trying to be polite, eating pork chops, whatever.
Sure, was it lasagna?
What's that?
Lasagna sounds like my birthday.
Maybe pork chops was another. I'm not sure. All I remember is all you wanted was a skateboard, and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
played you. Like your mom was like, "You didn't get it? Well, I thought you were gonna get it." Blah 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 blah. And there was this whole like everybody was in a fit all of a sudden, and then your dad got all like mad, like, "Jeff, go to the trunk of my car, get my briefcase," or something like that. I don't know what he wanted. And you're just like, "I don't want to do that.
I want me. What was that?
Do it now because I told you to do it." And I'm sitting there going, "Holy shit, I want to go home." And then what he was doing was you open up the trunk and there was that skateboard.
Skateboard. I didn't get a skateboard. I thought I was gonna get a skateboard.
Yeah.
Oh man, they was
There was a skateboard. And then it was like your mom played it like she was pissed because he didn't get it. And he
Yep.
was like, "I thought you were gonna get it." And then you got upset, and then he like sent you to the car. And oh man,
I was getting really upset.
what a
Well, can we go get it now? My mom's like, I thought they were out. I thought they were out.
Pretty
They
sure
were like making it worse.
you never actually got good at skateboard either, did you?
Not good. I was like utilitarian. Yeah,
Hey, let's take a moment here.
I could ride a skateboard forever. I just wasn't. No, I never had a board that was better than the
Kamikaze.
Kamikaze.
That's right.
Oh, they were so prolific though. Everybody had a Kamikaze before they went to like a GNL or GNS, Gordon Smith. GNS. It was like if you were in the elite middle class neighborhood, you had Diamondback, you had Redline, Diamondback, you had Mongoose,
A mongoose.
or you had GNS for skateboards, and then you had your own, personalized, specialized trucks, and yeah, custom boards and trucks. I was a over the counter.
worked a whole summer to get the money to build my board, and I still have it. I will not give it up.
You still have your skateboard from then?
Yes, with Phoenix trucks and yeah, oh yeah. There's you will have to pry that out of my dead arms before I give that to anybody. I worked so
Wow.
hard for that.
Wow.
Yeah. And mine was a Vision Jinx. I rode
Nice.
Vision.
Wow, that's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
With Haley for her 16th birthday. She just turned 17, right? Yeah, 16. She wanted a couple of things. She wanted a guitar. I think she had it.
I can help
Yeah.
you out with that. What do you want? I gotta hold.
No, I took care of it then, but she wanted a guitar. She'd been using my electric. One of my ex-girlfriends had taken my acoustic with her. I was like, it's fine, you know. So I remember she was like, "Can I get you? I want a guitar. I want a guitar. I want a guitar." Sure, yeah. I was like, "We'll figure something out." And then on the side she'd say, "Oh, I really want a skateboard too." I said, "Well, I know you've been riding this, rusty piece that you guys found in the gutter, but like you really want a skateboard, like you're gonna ride it." And she'd actually get out there and go running down the street and jump onto it and take off, like I was impressed. Far more athletic and musical than her beep, 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 super nerd siblings. So I got her both because it was her 16th birthday. And the guitar she wanted was it's just junky parlor guitar that it's hey, rats, stop raping.
That doesn't sound
You get really aggressive. The guitar, it was I'm drawing a blank what it's called.
so it was a parlor guitar, which
It was
kind
a part of the guitar. It was 3/4 size. Kurt Cobain had this same guitar, and that's what he used for Something in the Way. Like on a couple of songs on that first album, he
Oh, really?
used his parlor. God, I'll have to find it. Or it'll pop in my head.
Parlor size makes sense. I understand that.
And it was his guitar that made the noise. It was like grandma's guitar. It wasn't anything fancy, a few $100, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was the one that it sang for him. So she was getting fascinated with Nirvana, which I was like, that's great. And she tells me about this guitar. Well, I actually found one here in town at
Probably
the
a silver tone or harmony. It's either a silver
Harmony. Might have been Harmony.
harmony. Yeah, because I've got a couple of them too.
Might be a Harmony. It was in 1967. I got heard. I think they made these. It might be Harmony, 3/4 parlor Harmony. Yes, it was a Harmony. I think they made it from like 65 to 74 or something like that.
They were what you call a Sears catalog guitar.
Mhm.
And I did, just I don't know, when I first got in here and I didn't have a studio at all, I did those couple recordings on my phone where I didn't rehearse anything and I just went for nasty.
Yeah,
Let's just see how bad I can make something sound.
yeah,
And I felt comfortable because it was like, I know I can play better than this, but it's kind of cool to not play that.
right.
And that was you put video to one of them, right? Maybe, yeah, because that was the start of the howling. What do you call it? Jim Morrison.
Oh, yeah.
That's a silver tone.
Okay. Beautiful.
I paid $25 for that guitar. And if the house burns down, I'm grabbing that guitar first. It's a magic guitar. So I get it. That's cool that she got that.
Well, I found one at the local used bookstore / music emporium / they sell everything. Great musical section, great. And it was like $160 or something like that. And I rode down on my motorcycle and I found it. I wanted to make sure that was the right one. And for some reason, I think I got down there and I walked outside to call Lisa to double check. And then they closed. I was like, oh, just, shut the door on me. We're closed. I'm like, you guys suck. I went back the next day after work and it was sold. I was like, oh, I was so freaking bummed.
I have to do this to you again. This is Old Man Bladder. I'll be back very quick.
Oh, yeah, go. Pee. Something. I think I have some photos of the child playing that guitar. You know the fanboys. Wednesday, October 6th. No. No. Can you believe it's already 2023. That's nuts to me. Absolutely nuts. Um, Memories like the corner of my mind. Ouch. So, Pono matters. Part of rebranding that I'm doing is a audio only podcast based on shelf help. It's going to be about 30 minutes. 30. And it's called Pattern Interrupts podcast. Pattern Interrupts. So it's gonna be similar. It's gonna be psychological based. How do we recognize when we get into ways of thinking or trains of thought that are negative and or feed the beast that we don't need to be feeding, make us less effective, make us focus on things that are important and are out of our control. And then how do you pattern interrupt successfully? What are different methods that you can use to interrupt that way of thinking? So that throughout your day and your life, and you could start training yourself to recognize when those patterns start to dominate.
talking, bro.
So I've started rebuilding, but it's gonna be relatively structured. Well, because I think it needs to be. It'll be an introduction to the basic understandings of psychology and negative self-talk and negative self-image, and then specific tools that can be used for pattern interrupt, how to incorporate mantras, goals, and time frames into your life in order to give yourself the best fighting chance of success. And then I'll share a couple of examples of other people that you don't have to know in order to know their story. Either have them share their story live or have it pre-recorded, so we can get some examples of how other people use pattern interrupt to keep some control over what they're doing. And then recap and move on. So the idea is to actually give you examples of things you can work with. Give you something very specific that can be tried and true. And then if it works, it works. Come back and share it. If it doesn't, then we'll try something different. I've been using pattern interrupt as a sales trainer and a sales coach for years. Long time. Training people how to do sales is really it's like training negative thinking people to think positively. It's a not a simple task. It is not a simple undertaking to get people to be able to fight their own neurobiology and their own neurochemistry and their own limbic brain, because that fight or flight brain, man, it is strong. The signals are strong, and we are wired to avoid conflict at all costs, even with ourselves. And we will negotiate with ourselves the right thing to do just to avoid conflict, and we'll do it over and over and over again to our own deleterious effect. So if you want to know, how do people rise above that? How do people, I admire people who will come out on the stage and start talking as if they knew what they were talking about. People who can come out and sing in front of people, oh, that gives me butterflies like you can't even imagine. Because there's vulnerability in that. Most people don't sing well. So to come out and get on stage and sing in front of me, ooh, that's a vulnerability that makes that person strong in my eyes. And if someone can come out and act and sing and dance, ooh, lordy. Ooh, that's intense. To me, it's like the same thing with good comedians, good actors, good stand-ups, motivational speakers, people who come out and really make a difference. Is they come out and they believe their own stuff, and they don't make apologies for it. And you know that as they're learning how to do that, that self-doubt creeps in, as it does for all of us. Is when we start to lose our steam, especially if you can't read your audience and you can't figure out whether or not you're making an impact. You come out guns blaring and you're super confident that you know what you're talking about, and then by the end of a 15-minute lecture, you're like, I could be wrong. Maybe I don't know anything. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go now. Well, what's been really beneficial for me is learning how to teach people how to recognize that and battle your demons internally live while you're doing what you're doing. How do you recognize it? How do you identify what a feeling is? You know how hard it is for people to understand what a feeling is? It's hard. You know how hard it is for people to ever express what it is that they want? It's hard. It is hard for people to express what they want. People don't know how to. People know what they don't want. And they know They definitely know when they're in the middle of something they don't want. They can tell you that. What they're no good at is the figuring out what they do. You ever get people to tell you like what makes you happy? What does happiness mean to you? If you know that if you know that this is unhappy, then is it just the lack of this in the absence of whatever this is? Is that your happiness? Like, what are you looking for in life? What do you want to accomplish? What scares you and why? To me, that's the fun. That's the most exciting part about human psychology, is that it's all workable. You're in psychology, you're not just defined by, hey, this is your thing, this is your label, this is your description, and then they walk away and that's it for the rest of your life. Now somebody can come at you and say, look, you're a quadriplegic because you can't use your legs and you have minimal use of your arms. Okay, well, I'll take that label for now. But how about with time, effort, intense physical therapy, absolute insane drive to get those nerves to work again? Can I still work really, really hard and have a chance of not being even labeled that? Yeah, you see people who get you see people who would be considered handicapped otherwise turn their shit around completely because they believe they can do it. So that's always been an inspiration to me. And I love coaching people who are like, hey, look, the reason I'm not a good salesperson is because I get nervous when I have to ask someone to make a decision. I'm like, okay, that's fair. That's hard for everyone. So how do you know when it is that feeling is starting to take control of you? What does it feel like? Let's describe it. Let's define it. Let's understand it. Do you prefer to let all of your feelings own you? Or would you prefer that you are able to identify what the issues are and then come back and have a fighting chance at taking some sort of control? Because personally, if it comes down to my instinct is telling me that something is uncomfortable and my intellect is telling my instinct to shut the fuck up, I want to I want my intellect to be able to tell my instinct to shut up. I want my IQ to be stronger than my EQ. I need them both to be very strong because I'm going to use my EQ to get along with the world. But my IQ is vastly more programmable than my EQ is. I'm going to own it. Like, let's own it. Let's stop making excuses. Let's stop creating barriers for ourselves. So let's solve it, man. Define it. How does it feel? When does it happen? How do you know? You feel nauseated when you start to get nervous? Do you find yourself yawning when you get nervous? Do you stretch? Like, what do you do physically? Because there's going to be a trigger, whether you're paying attention or not. Let's figure out the triggers along the way. And then we're going to actually have a chance to capture you before you get too far gone. There's a sweet spot in the way that we think and the way that we process and the way that we do things. And there's that moment where things start to creep in and it feels familiar. You're not sure if that's what self-doubt is yet. Maybe it's just healthy curiosity. And then there's that break point where you let it take control and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing it. Yeah, I'm not going back to college. I'm gonna drop out of that class. I'm not going to ask for the sale. I'm not going to take that job interview. I'm not going to do open mic. And your brain goes, yeah, I mean, that's an uncomfortable feeling. So let's make a bunch of reasons why it's true to support it. And then your brain will logically go, yeah, feed the insecurity, make it okay to be a failure. Because it sucks, because being a failure sucks too. So we're going to have to take that out of the equation. Now we're going to have to make it all right to give in to our fear or our trepidation or our anxiety or whatever it might be. Or identify it soon enough and go, oh, I see you coming, bastard. I see that negative self-talk is coming in. Oh, I thought about a beer just now. Oh, why is it that when I deliver good news and I deliver intent to the world, then suddenly I want a beer? I'm like, because one beer might be celebratory, 3 beers might be change direction. I'm giving myself an out. Whatever it might be. Like learning what those things are. I go, nope. I'm gonna change that pattern. I thought about 1 beer, now I'm thinking about no beers. I'm thinking about no beers for a month. That's fine. Because I'm gonna do this thing because it's scary. That's why it's the right thing to do. Uncharted territory is always going to be a little bit scary. Always. Your limbic brain is there to stop you from being eaten by lions. But look around you, there's not that many lions anymore. All those lions are inside your head. It's amazing what happens when you can pattern interrupt and overcome yourself and overcome that nagging feeling that everything is gonna end poorly. It's all gonna end badly, man. It always does. You should just give up. Because at least you give up, at least you're right when you're wrong. Sometimes you feel like it's gonna be better to be right when you're wrong. I'd rather be a failure on purpose than a success on accident. Fuck that. Don't be a failure on purpose. And if you're a success on accident, get a shovel, fucking dig that shit up and figure out what went right. There's nothing wrong with succeeding on accident. Nothing wrong with it. Figure out what happened. Figure out the right ingredients. Add that to your new patterns. Man, I'm looking back over my life, the last handful of years, and you can tell when I was dating prolifically. Jeez. Oh, here we go. Here's that first time I saw that parlor. Years later, Matthew. Oh, it was only $100. It was $100. It was $100.
Oh, that, yeah. I think we've given the listeners enough, and might be a good point to sign off. Got a little sign off video, or let's do it ourselves.
That was the guitar.
Robert Johnson, baby.
They sold that bastard the next day, so I bought one off Guitar Center, like $180. That, let me tell you,
And he paid about $140 too much.
yeah, well,
It's good.
yeah, you see the look on your kid's face. She's like, just like Kurt Cobain. Yep, that's the one his grandma had. She's like, it's hard to play. It's really hard to keep it in tune. I'm like, yep.
You think this monster's easy to play? That's why I busted it out. This is my silver tone.
Oh, jeez.
That was your backdrop music there, but this is magic.
Love it. Love it.
Funny thing
All
about
right.
it's $25 for the guitar, but I can't quite get an angle where you can see it. The pickup costs $450. So
What?
there's the value on a $25 guitar.
Right. She's beautiful. So anyway, rebranding of a little bit of rebranding podcast.
Oh, we don't need to rebrand, man. We're doing good.
No, the Pattern Interrupt podcast. The structured.
Okay.
A little more structure. I don't show up if you look for me in the podcast. I show up nowhere because I'm not.
Are we still
on. I'm all streams.
Okay. I say
What?
say goodnight.
All right. Well, say goodnight,
We can do
Gracie.
an
Good night, Gracie.
outro. Good night, Felicia.
Show. On behalf of Guitar Monk, Mathew Dixon, I am your host, Geoffrey, with a G. You know me. We'll stick with it for now. And Matthew, I will not hang up on you just to stream.
Yes.
Don't forget to love one another and love yourselves. Have a good night.